The Holy Gospel according to John, the 6th chapter. Glory to you, O Christ. When the crowd saw that neither Jesus nor his disciples were beside the sea, they themselves got into the boats and went to Capernaum looking for Jesus. When they found him on the other side of the sea, they said to him, "Rabbi, when did you come here?" Jesus answered them, "Very truly I tell you, you are looking for me, not because you saw signs, but because you ate your fill of the loaves. Do not work for the food that perishes, but for the food that endures for eternal life, which the Son of Man will give you. For it is on him that God the Father has set his seal." Then they said to him, "What must we do to perform the works of God?" Jesus answered them, "This is the work of God, that you believe in him who he has sent." So they said to him, "What sign are you going to give us then, so that we may see it and believe you? What works are you performing? Our ancestors ate the manna in the wilderness, as it is written, 'He gave them bread from heaven to eat.'" Then Jesus said to them, "Very truly I tell you, it was not Moses who gave you the bread from heaven, but it is my Father who gives you the true bread from heaven. For the bread of God is that which comes down from heaven and gives life to the world." They said to him, "Sir, give us this bread always." Jesus said to them, "I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never be hungry, and whoever believes in me will never be thirsty." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
You may be seated. What are you looking for? That is often the question my spouse Greg has for me as I stand in our pantry. Sometimes it's the refrigerator or freezer door open instead, but more often than not, there's me, halfway in the pantry for far too long. "What are you looking for?" Greg will ask me, usually a second time, and my response is often the same. "I don't know, I think I'm hungry." And when Greg dutifully asks, "Well, what are you hungry for?" I respond, usually at this point a little frustrated, because if I knew I wouldn't be standing in the pantry. I say, "I don't know, food, I guess. I'm hungry for food." I tell this story because it happens so often in my house that if Greg wasn't with Hadley getting her a snack right now, because like me, she is also always hungry, he would be shaking his head at me during all of this. But like those in our readings today, I am often looking for sustenance and not entirely sure how that's going to happen, when that's going to happen, or what it will be. What are you looking for? For the Israelites in our reading from Exodus, they are literally starving. Like so many people in our community and in our world who are actually without food or the funds to access it, the Israelites are desperately hungry. Wandering in the desert, in the wilderness, they make their complaints known to Moses and Aaron. They are feeling desperate. They are beginning to regret following these guys in the first place. What are they looking for? Food. They are looking for their most basic needs to be met. And God hears their complaints. God realizes that the Israelites don't totally know God yet. They don't totally trust God in their lives, and they are really struggling to trust Moses and Aaron. They know God as the deliverer, but they haven't understood God as their provider yet. And so God uses this as an opportunity to provide for those in need and also to teach them about the gifts from a God who provides. In the evening, quails came and covered the camp so they would have meat to eat for dinner, and in the morning, as the dew lifted off the ground, honey-flavored wafer flakes were left for them to eat. We don't have the story in its entirety in our reading today, but no matter how much they gathered, whether more than they needed or less, after the Israelites finished, they each had exactly the amount they needed for the day. And God told them not to keep anything for the next day because God has already provided. Looking for needs to be met, looking to the one who provides, looking for hope in the wilderness. What are you looking for? The writer of our reading from Ephesians is looking for disciples of Jesus who lead a life worthy of the calling to which they have been called. A pretty tall order. One you probably won't find in a pantry or a freezer. But hopefully, you'll find in a church, maybe like ours. Hopefully, like the church in Ephesus receiving this letter, we can live into this calling with humility and gentleness, with patience, bearing with one another in love, making every effort to maintain the unity of the Spirit and the bond of peace. Ephesians reminds us today that in all our diversity, in all the ways we are different from one another, there is still one body, one Spirit, one hope, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, and one God and divine parent of all. And it's because we are all part of this one body and one Spirit that we are reminded today of the gifts we are given, of the callings we've been given. Because truthfully, the gift of grace comes with another gift. A gift of purpose. I wonder if the members of the church in Ephesus were looking for their own purpose. Were they wondering if they could be an apostle, a prophet, an evangelist, a pastor, or a teacher? Did they need reminding that all the saints meant everybody? And that it's all the saints that are equipped for the work of ministry, not just ordained ministers or paid professionals, but all of us? What are you looking for? For purpose? For the God who is above all and through all and in all, looking for truth in love to be spoken around you. The crowds in our reading from John were looking for Jesus. He's just finished one of his most famous feeding miracles, feeding 5,000 gathered, and the crowd that has been following him all over looks around and realizes that somehow in the midst of all of their eating, Jesus and his disciples are missing. And somehow they're able to track him down to Capernaum. They find that he has traveled to the other side of the sea. They get in their boats, they go to him, and they tell Jesus that they have been looking for him. How did he get so far, so fast? Because the hunger is real for them too. Like it was real for the early Israelites in Exodus, and Jesus sees their hunger, they're struggling, and Jesus knows. Maybe they weren't really looking for him exactly, but for the bread he could offer. Looking for their needs to be met, for the comfort and stability of knowing where a next meal will come from. And Jesus calls them on it a little bit, like Greg standing near me as I hang into the pantry. What are you really looking for? And when Jesus does this, they ask him, well, what is it that they need to do to perform the works of God? What hoops, Jesus, must we jump through in order to be fed? How might we perform to your liking? How might we be worthy of the food you give? They're asking Jesus, well, Jesus, what are you looking for in us? And after what I assume to be a probably awkward back and forth where the crowd asks Jesus to prove to them that he's worth believing in, worth trusting, worth looking to, Jesus doesn't fault them for their doubt, for their confusion, or for their hunger. Jesus just tells them that it wasn't Moses, it wasn't a person who brought the manna from heaven. It was God. And it's God who brings bread that brings life to the world. And the crowd listens, wonders, and says, Sir, give us this bread always. Because even for a moment, in their looking and their hunger, they recognized being fed in a way they had never been fed before. They experienced Jesus and that grace that looks past so much of our faults, that grace that declares, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never be hungry. Whoever believes in me will never be thirsty. That's all you have to do. Believe. Come to Jesus with our hunger and our thirst. And there are more things to be hungry for than food that perishes, more things to be thirsty for than water, looking for food, looking for Jesus, looking for new life on the other side of the sea. What are you looking for today? Maybe today you or someone you care about is deeply struggling, and you are just looking for basic needs to be met, whether that be hunger or thirst or emotional comfort. Maybe it sounds real nice, all that never hungry, never thirsty stuff that Jesus says, but maybe you relate really well to the Israelites complaining of their desperate need. Why, God? Why, Moses? You brought us out here just to die, didn't you? Maybe you are struggling to see the God of providing in your life today, or maybe you are just looking for purpose, wondering what is next for you. Maybe you're wondering if God is really there with you. Maybe you feel tired, worn out, unsure, or alone, and you're looking. Tired of looking for the God who is above all and through all and in all, when you feel like you just need the God who helps, who does something, whose presence you can tangibly feel, whose sign you can visibly see. Maybe you are looking for Jesus, but you don't really know why. Maybe it's partially for the never hungry, never thirsty stuff. Maybe it's just wondering what might happen next. What sign might you follow? Maybe you're hungry for something, staring into the pantry of your life and not quite sure what to cook. Maybe you're not sure what looking for Jesus entails. Maybe you just don't know. And all you know is that you're hungry. And that's okay, because you're not the only one looking. Jesus is looking too. And Jesus is looking for you, for us, for everyone. Our God who provides loves you so much. Our divine parent who loves this world so much sends Jesus into this world looking for a world to be healed and made new, to gather us together into this one body, one spirit, through one hope. Jesus goes to the cross and experiences the struggles that humanity experiences, present with us in our suffering, in our hunger, in our thirst, in our greatest losses of dignity and hope. Jesus rises from the dead looking for new life for all the world, to feed us with something more than manna or quail, bread or fish. Jesus rises from the dead to bring us the bread of life, to bring us life. So that fully equipped by Jesus' gift of grace for the work of ministry, we actually can physically, literally live lives worthy of this calling to which we have been called. Living lives with humility and gentleness, we can go out into our community caring for others, whether that's with opportunities like our visitation team, providing care and communion to those in our church community, or providing food for those in need in partnership with Nourish Next Door. Maybe it's helping with Harbor dinners that are looking to be started in the fall, quilting, or the numerous ways you all share your gifts with our community. Together, Jesus guides us to what we have been looking for. Living lives with patience for ourselves and others, speaking God's truth in love and kindness to everyone, regardless of our differences. Living lives bearing with one another in love, working towards unity and peace for all people. What are you looking for? And maybe all you can do today is focus on the basic needs of your life being met. And that's okay. But maybe tomorrow, next week, next month, as you stand in whatever pantry of your life that you have, whatever that pantry might look like, and wonder what you're looking for, you'll find some purpose. You'll be able to see some hope. You can experience the new life of Jesus, of the one who declares, I am the bread of life, the new life of the one who looks for you, who declares to you each week during communion, this is the bread of life, this is the bread, my body given for you. When we ask this question, what are you looking for ourselves or for others? Here is Jesus. And all I can say is, Lord, give us this bread always. Thanks be to God.